Mike Pereira going with the butt no fumble on Thanksgiving.
Well, they were talking about the butt fumble right before that.
That's just you being you, though, Mike. You don't just give me straight information. You spiced it up a little bit.
But
I like
it's also like I said the week before, 1 cheek equals 2 feet. Is the same thing.
But wasn't that Matt? Didn't Madden always say that?
No, he said 1 knee equals 2 feet.
1 cheek.
I say 1 cheek equals 2 feet.
Mike Pereira of Fox Sports, the former head of NFL refs, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, as you always do every Monday. Let's talk about. Oh, do we have animation? Do we have sound animation for this? Go for it, Del Tufo. That play is looking for the review.
Under the hood.
I love the hood.
All right. Very well done. You did mix a little bit of music underneath there. Is that one of our turnovers, Drew Olmeyer? How many turnovers for Del Tufo on this program? Including you not having your mic turned on right now.
That's a turnover for him.
That's 4. So that's up to 4.
Okay.
4 turnovers.
Where's Chris Law? The show falls apart without him. I don't know what to say.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
After
Absolutely
further
falls
review.
apart.
Hold on.
After
I was
further
thinking
review.
about suspending him for an hour tomorrow,
That's
but the
a
show
turnover.
doesn't work without him.
Let's go under the hood on that one. All right, Mike. What happened at the end of the Cincinnati-Tampa Bay game has been discussed quite a bit because Marvin Lewis threw a challenge flag in the last 2 minutes when he's not allowed to throw a challenge flag. We saw on Thanksgiving a couple of years ago with Schwartz, or was it
Schwartz.
Schwartz? It was
No, it was
Schwartz who threw a
Schwartz.
challenge flag, and instead of a play being overturned as it should have been, it was a penalty on Schwartz because he threw a challenge flag when it was a scoring play, not allowed to do that. So bottom line, though, is Marvin Lewis saw upstairs that the play that had Tampa Bay set up right at the 20 to kick a potential game-winning field goal eventually was a pass play that included 12 Buccaneers on the field. So after further review, because the red challenge flag was thrown, it was ruled, yes, 12 men on the field, move the Bucs back out of the scoring zone. Cincinnati won, and all that Marvin Lewis was nailed for was a timeout. Talk me through this process, Mike Pereira.
Well, let's go to really who's at fault here. It's inexcusable that the officials let the play be run with 12 players on the field. All you got to do is count to 11, and if there's one more, that's 12. That's easy to do. It's a routine. They lost their concentration. It's inexcusable. Marvin Lewis has a brain fart. I mean, he throws the challenge flag instead of calling a timeout.
He said he couldn't find an official to call a timeout.
Well, he was not. Come on, he's not that far away. But he basically achieved what he wanted to do, which was to stop the game, and he did it by way of throwing the flag instead of calling the timeout. The rule says that, if you're not entitled to throw the flag, which you're not inside of 2 minutes, then if you have a timeout left, you lose your timeout. If you don't, it's a 15-yard penalty. I mean, whether he called timeout or whether he threw the challenge flag, to me, is not the issue here.
What is the
Dean
issue?
Blandino says that they were going to shut down the game anyways. We'll never know that. I mean, I will say this from the replay booth, way in the press box, having to look down and count that there's 12 players is certainly not as easy as doing it from the offensive backfield from the referee or umpire position. But I think what they're going to have to take a look to see, even though Marvin Lewis would have achieved the same thing and maybe even have saved his timeout if he had just called the timeout, if they were indeed shutting down the play at the same time. I think maybe they look at it and say that anytime you throw the challenge flag when you're not allowed to, okay, make it a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah,
and
but
you still review the play and still correct it, because that was the thing with Schwartzy. He threw the flag, he got penalized, and because he threw the flag, they wouldn't review it. So they didn't get the play right on the field. And so, get the play right, but again, I think we're putting too much emphasis on Marvin Lewis and not enough emphasis on the officials that have to make the call.
Mike
There's
Pereira
no
of Fox Sports joining me here. But if you don't have a timeout and use the challenge process, so you do stop the clock, that should be a 15-yard
And
penalty.
it is.
So the question is, though, it shouldn't be a 15-yard penalty for what Marvin Lewis did. Are you saying that it should be a 15-yard penalty for what Marvin Lewis did?
I'm saying if you want to look at it in the offseason
why
and
would-
make it a 15-yard penalty, then you could. But I don't.
What's the
I
point
don't-
of
I
making
don't-
what Marvin Lewis did a penalty?
Well, because make him be smarter than to throw the challenge flag and make him call the timeout that he has. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with that, but I know that's going to be talked about. Let's remember, it's Marvin Lewis that's on the competition committee, and he's the one that got this rule put in when the owners voted for it.
He's the one, or he's part of the committee?
He's part
that
of
did
the
it?
committee
Okay.
that recommended that this rule be put in. But again, he lost a timeout. He could have called the timeout He didn't. He threw the challenge flag instead. You know, would it have been shut down? That maybe we'll never know. Dean Blandino does say that.
Current head of NFL refs.
Yeah, he does say that they were in the process of stopping it. You can't. I'm certainly going to believe him. I have no reason not to believe him. But you know, it's those type of things. I'm telling you, my old job frustrate the hell out of you. That you know, it's hard enough to make pass interference calls or holding calls. They're judgment calls. This is not. Do your job. I mean, do your job. Get the play right, so you don't get into these unfortunate situations.
Do you think, and that how big of a downgrade is that for that?
Well, I mean, again, they end up getting to play right on the field because of replay, but there has to be the downgrade because, again, this is just not following a set routine. And it's, you know, I hate to say that any call on the field is easy, but counting the proper number of players on the field is easy.
Heck, they do that on Sesame Street. And plus, doesn't Ryan?
But maybe don't go to 12.
Maybe you need
though.
Ryan Fitzpatrick's kid out there. Did you see his multiplication
No.
skills? Did you see
No.
that? I don't
No.
know. I mean, he actually, yeah.
I used to count them and go 3, 6, 9, 11.
That's it.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, but Ryan
Pretty
Fitzpatrick's kid, he could multiply enough to get this thing down 12, and he's a youngster. Mike Pereira, the head of NFL refs, formerly now of Fox Sports, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And when you were the head of NFL refs, and I was the host of NFL Total Access, and we would do this every single week, I kept on hammering at the tuck rule. You didn't agree with me, then you agreed with me.
Yeah.
And then we got it out. It's gone. How is what happened yesterday?
Don't say we. You got it
Thank
out
you,
with
sir.
Dean Blandino, not
Thank
me.
you.
I was gone.
Thank you.
I was gone.
How is what we saw in Buffalo yesterday, where Johnny Manziel is coming down with the football, and he is definitely going through a throwing motion as the ball then gets knocked into the end zone and ruled on the field a fumble, and after further review, it's ruled an incomplete pass. How is that not the tuck rule, Mike Pereira?
And I said at the time that they were going to reverse this and make it an incomplete pass because just because of when your rule was changed and the league put out videos of different situations, and they had one of Roethlisberger, and it was the same type of thing. He's starting to bring it down, but the ball gets knocked out, and they said this is an incomplete pass because the arm and the hand are still going in a forward direction, even though he's starting to bring it down. And I said, totally confusing. I said that to Dean Blandino. That's too confusing. Everybody is going to be screwed up when they see this. And his thing then was, if there's any forward movement of the arm and the hand, even though he's starting to bring it back toward his body, if there's any forward movement still, they're going to make that an incomplete pass. Whether I like it or not, or whether I was confused with what Roethlisberger said, or whether Mike Carey thinks that it was a fumble. The fact is, Blandino, the guy that put Roethlisberger's play in the video, is the same guy that made the decision on Johnny Manziel's play, and you know, that's the current interpretation. Your hand has either got to be coming back or going down before he's actually going to make that a...
So if that's an incomplete pass, we should make that intentional grounding, because there's no way in hell he's completing that pass to another human being in his uniform.
You can't make it intentional
You
grounding.
absolutely...
How?
The same way that you make that an incomplete pass, Mike. The same way that we look at that and say that's an incomplete pass. That is absolutely a fumble. There is no way that he is attempting to complete that pass. There's no way he could physically have been able to make that. If you're going to say that that's an incomplete pass, that is a throwing motion, then that is an intentional grounding.
You have to be intentionally throwing the ball away
What
to
is he
save
intentionally?
loss of yardage.
You take a look at that
ball,
play,
the
Mike.
ball was knocked out because it hit the helmet. You know, isn't
Right,
it
that's
good?
thus a fumble.
You sure been fired up today, haven't you? Loved you on your Johnny Manziel segment.
Thank
by
you,
the
sir.
way. Yeah, you were fired up out of your mind.
I
Have
appreciate
you ever
that.
watched yourself when you get mad?
No.
And you can't hear you, but you just see your facial expression?
It can't be pretty.
You ought to try, because it's really not pretty. It is not pretty.
I ought to try. Do we have a call on Chris Law, a ruling? They want a ruling again on Chris Law, who did not make
Dennis
today's
in
show because he had a travel
I'm aware.
snafu.
I've been aware.
Based in
Dennis
my
in
mind
Pennsylvania.
out of faulty planning on his part. You don't leave it to the last minute to fly out from the East Coast to come back to the West
agree.
Coast on Thanksgiving Sunday. Dennis in Pennsylvania, you're on the Rich Eisen Show.
You just don't wait until the last minute. If I could be commissioner for the day, not to with Mike Pereira there, I'm thinking when you sit at your desk behind you, you keep them out. I agree with Mike Nolan keep him out for the first segment. There's a pole behind you. In the spirit of Christmas, you make him lick that pole.
Oh, my goodness.
For that first segment.
Do we freeze that pole? Is that what we're doing? You're going.
Well, you can, but don't freeze
No, don't
it.
freeze it. I got value in this tongue.
No, not you. It's law.
Oh,
Not
law.
you. It's not all about you, Pereira.
Oh, shoot.
Not you.
Talking about
No,
me.
you're great.
There's my guy.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. That's Dennis in Pennsylvania here on the Rich Eisen Show. Did he call my Jim Moore and Mike Nolan?
He did. He did.
Just want to make sure.
Both defensive coordinators.
Okay, very good.
Fair.
Mike Pereira, thank you. That was the Tuck rule, and no one's going to tell me that it wasn't.
You're not. It wasn't.
Thank you for coming on the Rich Eisen Show, bud. We'll see you next Monday.
You got it.
You bet. That's Mike Pereira here, Fox Sports.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.